Slovenia sits at the junction of the Alps, the Mediterranean, and the Pannonian Plains, creating a compact nation where landscapes shift quickly and every frame seems pulled from a painter's canvas. The journey begins in the capital, Ljubljana, where pastel buildings reflect in the slow bends of the Ljubljana River and pedestrians move across elegant bridges guarded by green dragons. Cafes spill onto cobblestone streets, cyclists glide under leafy trees, and market stalls display fresh vegetables, flowers, and cheeses sourced from nearby farms. Musicians play violins and accordions as boats move slowly under arched stone bridges. The castle above the city watches over modern galleries, university halls, and lively squares filled with students discussing art, politics, and travel. When evening approaches, lanterns flicker along the riverbanks and restaurants serve dishes paired with regional wines, creating an atmosphere both youthful and refined. Streetcars and buses carry residents toward neighborhoods of parks, libraries, and public gardens that highlight the country's commitment to green living. Leaving the capital, the landscape begins to rise, forming alpine valleys dotted with wooden barns and grazing cattle. The air smells of pine and wild herbs, and mountain peaks appear like jagged teeth against a cinematic sky. The road winds toward Lake Bled, where a glacial lake surrounds a small island crowned by a white church whose tower rings softly in the breeze. Boats shaped like Venetian gondolas, known as pletnas, ferry passengers across the calm surface as swans glide nearby. Above the lake stands a medieval castle that clings to a rocky cliff, offering panoramic views of forests and villages that stretch into the distance. Nearby Lake Bohinj feels quieter and more natural, encircled by mountains that plunge steeply to the water's edge. Trails lead to waterfalls and alpine pastures where locals make cheeses in wooden huts during summer months. As the journey continues through the highlands, towns reveal traditional architecture marked by carved balconies, stone foundations, and steep roofs designed for heavy snowfall. Along the way, roadside stands sell honey, herbal teas, and homemade jams, reflecting a culinary culture deeply connected to the land. The journey continues deeper into the Julian Alps, where mountain passes twist above valleys carved by centuries of snow and glacial water. Cows wear bells that echo through meadows, shepherds watch over flocks, and wildflowers bloom in radiant colors during summer months. Winter brings thick snow, transforming everything into a world suited for skiing, snowboarding, and mountaineering. Traditional mountain huts serve hearty stews, cured meats, and fresh dairy products, recalling a culinary heritage influenced by pastoral life. In the Soka River Valley, emerald waters race through gorges, attracting kayakers, rafters, and anglers who marvel at the clarity of the water. Villages in this region blend history with nature, carrying memories of past battles and the resilience of mountain communities. Museums and memorials tell stories of wartime hardship, while present-day festivals celebrate peace, sport, and music. Narrow roads follow the river before climbing toward passes that open suddenly into panoramic views of limestone peaks covered in snow well into spring. The terrain eventually softens toward the wine country of Goriška Brada, where rolling hills are covered in vineyards, orchards, and villages set among cypress trees. Wineries produce aromatic whites and full-bodied reds, and winemakers speak proudly about soil, microclimates, and traditions passed through generations. Visitors taste olive oil, cherries, and prosciutto while terraces overlook panoramas that stretch beyond the border. Continuing south leads to the karst region, a limestone plateau filled with caves, sinkholes, and valleys shaped by underground rivers. The most famous chambers contain vast stalactites, stalagmites, and acoustics that have hosted submerged concerts. Outside the caves, Lipizzaner horses graze on open pastures. Their sleek white coats and graceful gaits represent centuries of breeding and classical training associated with the Spanish riding school tradition. Nearby villages build with pale stone, producing wines aged in subterranean cellars carved from limestone that keeps the temperature steady throughout the year. Farther south, Slovenia touches the Adriatic Sea along a narrow coastline that blends Central European formality with Mediterranean warmth. The town of Piran offers a labyrinth of narrow alleys, Venetian architecture, and a harbour lined with fishing boats. Locals sip coffee under stone arcades while seagulls circle above terracotta rooftops that glow under afternoon sun. Seafood restaurants serve grilled sardines, octopus salads, and mussels cooked in wine, reflecting the maritime traditions that animated this region for centuries. Along the coastline, promenades lead to small beaches where families swim in calm waters that change shades throughout the day. To the north, modern marinas host yachts and sailing schools where instructors teach navigation to students who practice maneuvers under steady breezes. From here, trains and buses connect to inland towns, demonstrating a transportation network that favors accessibility and encourages exploration without the need for private cars. The eastern part of the country stretches into fertile plains where fields of wheat, pumpkins, and sunflowers dominate summer landscapes. Towns like Tuj, considered one of the oldest in the nation, present a quieter historical rhythm marked by castles, Roman artifacts, and annual festivals that celebrate ancient customs. In Maribor, the Drava River cuts through the city, home to the world's oldest grapevine and surrounded by hills planted with vineyards that climb toward the sky. Local sellers offer tastings paired with bread, cold cuts, and cheeses that highlight regional agriculture. Bicycles are a common mode of transportation in these regions, moving through flat terrain that favors leisurely travel. Farmers' markets and cooperatives promote local produce, while museums display tools and crafts connected to centuries of rural life. Industrial zones occupy portions of the lowlands, demonstrating a blend between tradition and modern manufacturing that shapes the economy. Throughout the country, Slovenian cuisine reflects the diversity of its landscapes. Alpine regions serve dumplings filled with cheese and herbs, coastal areas present seafood seasoned with Mediterranean spices, and the lowlands offer stews of beans, sausages, and vegetables. Bakeries prepare potica, a rolled pastry filled with walnuts or other ingredients, emerging golden and fragrant from rustic ovens. Dairy farms produce butter, yogurt, and cheeses that vary in texture and flavor depending on climate and soil. Restaurants focus on seasonal ingredients, incorporating mushrooms, berries, and wild greens harvested from mountain forests. Street vendors sell roasted chestnuts during cooler months, perfuming city centers with sweet, smoky aromas. Markets present cured meats, pickled vegetables, honey, and liqueurs flavored with herbs or fruits. Meals are accompanied by mineral waters and local wines, reinforcing a culinary identity shaped by geography and time. Slovenia's people carry a reserved warmth, friendly yet modest, proud of their language and identity, and deeply connected to the forests and mountains that surround their towns. Conversations reveal an appreciation for education, culture, and environmental stewardship, values reflected in clean streets, abundant recycling systems, and widespread use of renewable energy. Festivals fill city squares with music, dancers dressed in traditional garments, and stalls that sell handmade crafts, wooden toys, and embroidered textiles. Students commute to universities by bicycle or public transport, and office workers spend weekend hiking, skiing, or swimming in rivers and lakes. Multilingual abilities are common, allowing visitors to communicate easily with residents in hotels, cafes, and transportation hubs. Nature remains at the core of national consciousness. Forests cover much of the territory, providing habitats for bears, lynx, and deer that roam through protected zones. Rivers run clean and fast, supporting trout and powering small hydroelectric stations that contribute to sustainable energy. Lakes sparkle under summer skies, while wetlands host migrating birds that nest in reeds before continuing their seasonal journeys across continents. National parks and reserves prioritize conservation, enforcing rules that preserve ecosystems for future generations. Trails are well marked and widely used, offering routes to peaks, waterfalls, and plateaus that reward physical effort with extraordinary views. As the day concludes, cities and villages soften under golden light. Trains pull into stations, buses return to depots, and boats settle in quiet harbors. Restaurants fill with laughter as tables offer wines, soups, roasted meats, and sweet desserts. Hotel lobbies glow with warm light as travelers plan their next steps, deciding whether to climb mountains, explore caves, wander museums, or relax by the sea. The country's compact size makes it possible to experience several distinct landscapes within a short time frame, encouraging curiosity and spontaneity. Locals speak with quiet pride about their cultural heritage, natural resources, and growing reputation as a destination that rewards mindful travel. When night finally settles, stars appear clearly above rooftops, mountain ridges, and quiet marshlands, unpolluted by excessive light. The scene feels peaceful, almost theatrical, as if the landscapes themselves are preparing for another day of discovery. Slovenia maintains a quiet confidence, inviting travelers to wander, taste, and observe without haste, rewarding curiosity with beauty that feels both ancient and remarkably alive. It leaves lasting emotional impressions. Thanks very much for watching this video. See you in next video. Bye.